Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Maureen O'Connor from Quilters Heaven in Northbrook, Illinois, and I am the Opinionated Quilter. Today's episode, number 178, is the humble half square triangle. It can unlock tips, tricks, techniques for accurate machine piecing. This was inspired by a viewer question regarding half square triangles. But what I show you from this using half square triangles, you can transfer the information to piecing all different units. But because it is half square triangles, I put these two quilts behind me. This one is all half square triangles. And no matter how hard I try to keep everything perfect, I did a fair amount of ripping in this quilt top to get it pieced accurately. This one is a 9-patch that has half square triangles in it. And this is all a scrap quilt. This is the block here. It's made up of 3 half square triangles with a print and a background, 3 print squares, and 3 background squares. And these are laid out in the exact same orientation, barn raising pattern that would be a log cabin name of a pattern. I also wanted to show you this one because it's been washed several times, and when you first quilt your quilt, it's not washed, everything's nice and flat. After you wash it, if you have cotton in it, it all crinkles up. And I hope you can see that on camera. I love the crinkled look, but that's just my opinion. If you don't want it to be crinkled, you want to use poly that will not crinkle like the cotton does. But let's get to the episode. My viewer, Lori H., wrote asking if I had ever done an episode on half square triangle blocks. And she said she's been making a few lately and has had trouble sewing the units together. And she writes, I pair 2 HSTs together to sew. The one on the bottom has the diagonal seam at the needle, and the other HST is face down and does not have a seam until the bottom of the block. As I start to sew, the seam is getting stuck as the needle enters the fabric. Since it does not want to move along, my stitches are tiny. I've tried using a stiletto to push the fabrics through, but that causes the block to wobble, enough that the seam is not straight. Because of the tiny stitches, it is difficult to unpick the wobbly seam. She then goes on to say she's tried looking for tutorials, but they all teach you how to make the half square triangle, not how to sew them. So in most of my episodes, you don't see me sew. But in this particular question, it's exactly how I sew. So I do have the sewing machine set up, and we will get to that. But let's just start with this using a stiletto to push your fabric along. Don't do that. If your fabric is not advancing, something is not correct, and better to fix that than use a stiletto or a seam ripper or whatever to push your fabric through. I always say our fingers should just guide our fabric. You shouldn't have to push or pull. You need to let the feed dogs do their job. So, what is the problem if your fabric is not advancing? Let's go to the whiteboard. So if your fabric is not advancing, the first thing to look at is your fabric touching your feed dogs. If your fabric is not touching your feed dogs, that's a real easy adjustment. And I actually normally see this when you've got a point at the top, like when you're sewing 2 triangles together to make the half square triangle, or you've got 2 diamond-shaped pieces. That's when you really need to look at your feed dogs, and we'll do that in just a minute. That's the easiest fix. Now, another thing that can be going on is that your feed dogs are not going up high enough. If that's the case, then you need to take your machine into your technician and have him or her adjust that so that the feed dogs are properly advancing your fabric. Now, what are things you can try to use to help your fabric move the way it should move? Now, here we're getting into equipment, and you may say, I don't have that feature on my sewing machine. Well, in all things, the better the equipment, the better results you're going to get. And some of these things are not on the older machines and are on newer machines. And if accurate piecing is something that's important to you, you may want to look at upgrading your equipment. Now, I love the dual feed, and that helps move your top fabric at the same rate that your feed dogs move your bottom fabric. So when I'm piecing, I always have my dual feed engaged. Another thing you can do when fabric is not advancing nicely, you can adjust your presser foot pressure. You want to reduce the pressure of your presser foot, and your fabric should glide a little bit easier. That's another thing that not all machines have, especially older machines. The newer machines, you should be able to find that on. The other thing when I'm piecing, I'm always using, and this helps advancing of your fabric, is the single hole needle plate. That is really nice to help accurate piecing. Let's go to the machine and let me show you these things. I first want to show you where the piece doesn't touch the feed dogs. Now this is a 9mm stitch machine, so these feed dogs are fairly wide apart. A lot of piecers like to use a 5.5mm machine because these are closer together. So if I take these two triangles here and I put it here, you can see this is not near these feed dogs. This is to the left of these feed dogs. So this will never advance if I try to start sewing here. What's the solution? You have to move your fabric up. Now I get up to here, and this is definitely touching the feed dogs. This is barely touching the feed dogs, but at least it's touching over here. Now, if I've got one side of the feed dogs working and the other side not so much, you are going to need to guide the fabric to keep it straight. But this does not mean by any stretch of the imagination a big push or pull. I'm just going to use my seam ripper to guide. So I'm going to put my foot down. And actually I want to grab my thread because I like to hold this as I start. So here I go. It's a little hard with the camera right where I would be sitting. There, I didn't wobble at all, and I went right through. Now, I would have kept my hands up here if I didn't have the camera stand in the way, but it came through, looks fine. Then this is not real important. I would just open it up, press it, and then cut it, trim it to the correct size. Let's get to some that I've already trimmed. I have two half square triangle units here that are set up the way that the viewer said. The bottom one has the seam at the top, and the top piece has the seam at the bottom. Now I find this the easiest way to sew half square triangles together. So I'm just going to line it up here, and I'm going to put my foot down, and we're just going to sew this through. And there it goes. Didn't get stuck. You just need to guide it through. And again, it's a little hard for me to guide this through because I'm way to the right where I'd normally be right in front of it. but I do believe it came out okay. So let's take a look. Yeah, that looks nice actually. And there you go. I've got my 1/4 inch seam allowance up here. I've got a 1/4 inch seam allowance down here. It looks perfect. So I've put these two together just to show you, because for me, this direction is harder than the first one I just showed you. When you've got the two seams both up together, you've got to make sure you've got one pressed one way, one pressed the other way, which is actually both towards the green in this example. And I pinned it and I look and I say, that's perfect, looks great. So I'm very happy with these to sew into my project. I want to show you a few more things on accurate piecing. We're going to go back to the whiteboard. For accurate piecing, whether it's half square triangles or any other unit, the first thing you want to make sure is that your units are the correct size. If you make units and you just start sewing them together the way the pattern says, rather than pressing, checking, making sure you've got your 1/4 inch seam allowance, making sure they're the right size, you're going to end up with things that don't meet right. So that's the first step. The other thing is, and you saw me do it at the machine, is I pin. I know a lot of you don't like to pin, but when you pin and you use the skinniest of skinny pins, you can sew over them. Don't try it with fat pins. Only the 0.04 millimeter, I think it is. Is it 0.04 or 0.4? The smallest size. You can sew over them, and if they're pinned, then everything will come out correctly. And then, as you saw me do at the machine, after you sew the unit, open it up and look at it. If it's a time to press or not, this is the time to fix it. If you have way more than a 1/4 inch seam allowance above where the points are, as in the example of the half square triangles, then you need to fix it. If you don't have any seam allowance, you need to fix it. This is the time to do it. Don't wait till it's sewn into the whole project and then see that things don't meet. If you nip it in the bud, I think you'll be a whole lot happier if you're a person who wants to get your points to all meet. So I hope this has been helpful to you. I did have one other question that sort of kind of relates, and this was from Rita N. And she asked, have I ever done a shimmering triangle quilt before? It's an older pattern, but she hasn't found a video tutorial. I've not heard of this quilt before, and I've not made one, but I looked at a picture of one. And as I look at it, it's 1/4 square triangles, half square triangles, might be some flying geese in there, not sure. But it's all, to me, it looked like all basic units. And if you follow the steps that I've shown before on those units, the key to that one is color placement. Now, I can't say I'm the best on color placement, but your pieces will all meet up right if you do the steps that I've shown. That's the episode. Let's get to the giveaways. So, the winner of the 12 fat quarters is Mike Zerby, 3724. That's M-I-K-E-Z like zebra, U-R-B like boy, E-Y, 3724. Please send me your mailing address to quiltersheaveninc@gmail.com so I can get that fat quarter bundle out to you. The new giveaway is one I've tried to give away before but have not been successful, and this may not be everybody's cup of tea, but I know there are a lot of people out here who can do so much. This is a bundle of scraps. I actually have 2 bags full here, and one, it's kind of funny, as I was going through it, part of the scraps are from this. This customer of mine who always overbuys fabric comes in and gives me what she hasn't used. And from a big pile, I made this. But there's still this left over. And much more. These are all batiks. There's lots of half square triangles in here and more. These are just strips across. More strips and a bunch of squares. I'm sure there's someone out there creative who can use all this. Now, one more thing she gave me. She had made a braid quilt, and she so overbuys that she's got tons left. So there's 11 bags. They're all numbered, and the pieces are already made. If the camera can come down onto the table so you can see how, now these would, she's got, 11 different bags. As they go together, when you sew them together, you get the braid look here. And there's a lot of it. I mean, I don't know how big a quilt this will make, but these pieces are all made for you to start with, and the bags are numbered. So you don't, I mean, you obviously can change the order that you put them in, but if you don't want to, you can do them the same order that my customer did. So I'm hoping I can fit these all into one box. So if you would like to win this beautiful bundle of scraps, you know what to do. Like my video, comment on my video, and subscribe to my channel. And you will be entered to win. Put in the comment, big bundle of scraps. And you'll be entered to win. And good luck to you all. I hope to see some great quilts from this. So I appreciate each and every one of you. Keep the comments coming. Keep the video suggestions coming. And until next time, happy sewing.